What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Roxy music, and we're returning to the 1979 album Manifesto. Thank you, as always, to Seb. And the next song is Trash, which is synonymous with garbage, waste, refuse. And I would imagine this will have figurative meanings or conceptual meanings, but to take the word at face value, trash is something which is thrown away, gotten rid of, no longer wanted, and that might be because its utility, its use, is no longer viable, or because it is dirtied or spoiled, which is to say it might have still had a use, but it has been tarnished or broken or otherwise compromised in a way that you no longer want it or find value in it. So, yeah, I mean, on a harsher interpretation, or rather applied in a more unpleasant way, people can be referred to as trash, or places or situations like, oh, that's trash, or he's just trash. So yeah, obviously, whether you're talking about an inanimate object or a human being with thoughts and feelings and so on, what is designated as trash can make a big difference in terms of how that word or label might be evaluated. I will see what I can catch on the first hearing. This is Roxy music. The song is Trash, and that is not a qualitative description, but instead the title, and it's from their 1979 album Manifesto.
Are you customized or ready-made? Heavy metal, trick or treat. Only 17. On the level, trash is neat. Teenage fever, oh, you got it bad. Caught the flavor, want it all. Only 17. Bet you know the trash I mean. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Trash. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Throw your features into magazines. Go to Plaza, where's the tray? Only 17. Slips and more, trash is in.
Oh wow. For them, that's a short one. They're like 3 minutes, maybe? Like 2.5? Yeah, in fact, less than 2.5. So definitely a shorter one. But okay, like when they started talking about like heavy metal and only 17, I was thinking, okay, 79. I don't know if it's quite the new wave of British heavy metal, but maybe that's part of what's happening here. Of course, like in 79, punk, or at least the initial burst of punk rock, is already seen as like, punk's dead by this point. Although, again, as someone who loves punk rock, especially 80s punk rock, to me, it was only the prologue, only the opening chapter of the story. But I feel like maybe there's some commentary here about those types of youth music cultures. My question would then be, is this a critique of the way mainstream society or even mainstream music critics and so on were seeing those cultures and scenes? Is it a critique of those actual scenes themselves, maybe suggesting that it was more about style and, wanting to like something new, but not necessarily about it being quality, but instead trash. I feel like if there is something there, I think there's more to it than that. But of course, that might be missing the mark entirely. But yeah, again, saying like only 17 and referring to multiple things which seem like a commentary on what's happening, you know, artistically, then I do wonder like what's at play here. But either way, the Sonics are crazy. Like in one sense, it almost feels like there are some heavier guitar moments here that aren't really metal per se, but are maybe heading a bit more in that harder rock direction, and yet it still has the kind of quirk and art rock feel of a lot of their stuff that I've heard thus far. There's also like a notable keyboard line, and then there was something which I think was also keyboard, but it sounded like synth brass or like maybe like a synth woodwind, and it kept flourishing and trilling and doing these melodic flares, which again I think were probably on keyboard, but they sounded like a breath related instrument. So yeah, I was keen to decipher that, but by the end of the tune I still wasn't quite sure what I was hearing. But yeah, again, it doesn't necessarily sound like the early to mid 70s Roxy Music stuff, but it definitely sounds unmistakably like them, if that makes sense. So, yeah, a shorter one, and I am intrigued what's happening here thematically or lyrically. Do let me know if you have some insight. Thank you again to Seb for this journey, as well as Paulo, who sent me, what is it, Avalon? I'm trying to remember what the. Like I said, it's one that he sent to me a long time ago, and I think it's still ahead of this in time. Yeah, it's Avalon, but yeah, I appreciate that as well, and we will get to that eventually. But yeah, let me know what you think of this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.